And most people are just not that sophisticated when it comes to these things.
Oh.
If they're betting using an app or something like that, betting online, they're just doing it for fun. They think they can win. They got a feeling. They want to bet their team.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make the game more exciting. And so those people are basically like very they're very under-researched. They don't have like the full grasp of understanding of the complexities of sports gambling, because it's a lot more complex than I ever thought. When I was going over your stuff, I was like, oh my goodness, like this involves so much time and read. This is not a simple thing as like, oh, I follow sports, I think Kansas City's going to win. It's not. It's complicated, very, very complicated. And to win at a level that you won at over your career, and the numbers, like what is the biggest bet you ever placed?
I bet $4.5 million on New Orleans to beat the Indianapolis Colts in the Super Bowl. That's the biggest bet I ever placed.
Did you win?
I did. I won it. I got lucky and I won it. Yeah.
You got lucky on that one?
Well, I mean, anytime you win, I mean, I feel like I'm lucky. I mean, Joe, the world's made up of a lot of different kind of people, as we both know, and but no, I feel like anytime I win a bet, I got lucky. I mean, because there's, but no, I won a bet, and the reason I had such a big bet is what I do, Joe, is I make a line on a game myself. My prediction of what I feel like the differential should be,
independent of what the experts
completely
say.
Independent. I don't even look at their line when I make my line.
Really?
No,
that's high level shit.
Well, that's all. I'm doing the same thing they're doing.
Right.
I mean, believe me, the principles that I'm following and making my line are the same principles that the handicapper is making. But it's Joe, it's kind of like baking a cake, One guy might put a little bit more flour in than the other guy does. And so that's how we end up with different, lines, different numbers. So I make a line on each and every outcome of the sports that I'm involved with.
And you betting this on the individual players, their overall career, what age they are, how they've been playing this season, who the coach is, all the different factors, whether or not there's in-player disputes in between players. Like, there's a lot of things to take into consideration.
Again, I put it all in the book, and you're right, there's a lot of different factors that go into that. Some more important than others, but there's a lot of factors. And then what happens is the larger the differential between the number they make and, my opinion, the larger bet I make. There has to be a minimum of a certain amount of separation, or I won't make a bet. But the larger the difference is between my opinion and their opinion, the larger bet I make. So I'll just give you a rough example. Let's say the NFL, and let's say I would have to have a minimum of, say, a 1.5 differential from the line they make from the line I make, 1.5, 2 points. Well, I would bet 1 unit. Okay, that would be the smallest bet I would make. But for each half point, so if I made the line on a game 6 and they had it 8, I would bet 1 unit. If they made it 8.5, I would bet 2 units. If they made it 9, I would bet 3 units. If they made it 9.5, I would bet 4 units. If they made it 10, I would bet 5 units. Well, the New Orleans game you asked me about, which I couldn't believe, was a Super Bowl game. And this type of year, we never get this kind of differential. But I had like a 7-point differential between the line I made and the line they made. Really? They made Indianapolis 7, and I thought the game should be pick'em. And when I saw the line, I couldn't believe it. I went back. I said, well, maybe I haven't made a mistake here. I went back, redid it. No, pick'em. So that's how I ended up with such a large bet.
When you go through something like that, how much time are we talking? Like if you're placing a $4 million bet on a Super Bowl game, how much time are you researching?
Well, but that time of the year, I mean, all of our research is done. I mean, it's this last game here. Okay, the only changes you're going to make from the last games that these two teams played during the Super Bowl is, okay, are there any players injured that didn't which you have to account for? And, clearly if they're playing on a different surface or something maybe than the teams normally do. It's very small. I mean, the second the game's over, we can have the line on the next game within 6 hours. It's not a problem, or less. I mean, unless it involves, some injury or something that, it may take us until we get some more clarity on that. But I'm going to know real close to where I'm at frankly, as soon as the game's over, almost within an hour or two.
Now, there's been some times over the years where referees, specifically in basketball games, have been caught doing things, calling penalties, trying to swing the game in favor of another team, and they get caught for it and busted. How much do you think that goes on today? Like, how much do you think, like, referees are bought off, or maybe perhaps they're betting themselves?
I don't think that exists at all, Joe.
Really?
And if it does, it's very, very small.
But it has been, right?
Things have happened in the past, but you know who uncovered each and every one of those? Gamblers. People betting sports and bookmakers. They're the ones that made law enforcement aware of these things. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a casino or whether you're a bettor, the integrity of sports is the most important thing in the world to you. A good thing about what's going on today, there's probably more transparency in betting today than there ever has been. All of the legalized gambling that's taken place, they have everyone's account information. They know everything you're doing. And the other thing about betting on sports, Joe, unlike, say, Wall Street, it is a small market, much, much smaller market than Wall Street. So if you go out and you make a sizable bet in sports, the line's going to move, and it's impossible to hide it, okay? Now, there's people such as myself, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people in the sports business. If they see a line on a game move a half a point, or whatever, they know who calls that line to move 99% of the time, okay?